who together build up the house of Israel. So who's Rachel and Leah? They're the two wives of Jacob. And it's from them that we have the 12 tribes, right? So it's emphasizing here being fruitful and multiplying, filling, continuing this line, rather than this death that has occurred, right? This seemingly end to the line. No, let this be a day of life moving forward. May you act worthily in Ephrathah and be renowned in Bethlehem. And may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring that the Lord will give you by this young woman. Now, maybe think, Perez, who's Perez? Okay, do you remember the story? It's going back to this with Tamar and Judah. Remember, Tamar was married to Judah's son. And then the first husband died. And then she married the second brother. He died. And so this Judah gets nervous about giving Tamar another son because he actually sees her as a curse. Like, I don't want to see another one of my sons die. And so he doesn't fulfill his responsibility to Tamar, and she ends up disguising herself as a prostitute and sleeps with Judah later and becomes impregnated by Judah. And it's through this relationship that then you have Perez. So the emphasis here being back on someone that had lost a husband, but then God brought about vindication for the woman who was destitute. God brought vindication and gave her a child. And through this person, actually a line goes down through to Boaz here in this story. So, yeah, again, mentioning the idea that there's blessing in this context where Tamar was blessed by God, giving Perez. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he went into her, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. Emphasis here again on God's provision, right? The name of the Lord, Yahweh, is named here, and he gives her conception. She becomes pregnant with a boy, and she gives birth to a son. It gets better. So then the women said to Naomi, we need to contrast this with the beginning of the book. Okay, then the women said to Naomi, blessed be the Lord. Again, God's name is being proclaimed and praised. Blessed be the Lord who has not left you this day without a redeemer, and may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you is more to you than 7 sons. He's given birth to him. Wow. Now, again, think back to chapter 1, because this is key to the whole book. This is like the big screaming message of the book, that God doesn't abandon the widow. Remember, Naomi thought she was abandoned. And at the beginning, in chapter 1, verses 19 through 21, this is where she says, don't call me Naomi. I went out full and I came back empty. And everyone's wondering. They don't say anything because the moment's tense. But they're like, wait a minute, you say you're coming back empty? Who's that following you? Well, she's a nobody. Do you see how Naomi viewed Ruth? She actually has a skewed view of male-female. Where's the value? Male offspring. Men. If I don't have men, nothing. Now here, we do have a male child, right, that's provided, but it's not devaluing women. Because look what happens. The ladies actually say about Ruth, she's more to you than 7 sons. Wow. And then people want to say that the Bible looks down on women, or God looks down on women. That's not the message here. You may have thought that coming into the book, but by the end of the book, you see that being switched. And you see the value of women. And look, this woman, basically, let me put the words another way. This woman who you devalued at the beginning and didn't see her worth, like Naomi, this woman is more valuable to you than 7 sons. Look at what she's done for you. She's cared for you. She's gleaned for you. She's taken care of you. And she's been loyal and faithful to you. Wow, this woman is awesome. And she's the one that God's worked through to bring about life for you today, right? With having this offspring that redeems your whole family. Ruth is the one through whom God brings this blessing. So has God forgot them? No. God's working behind the scenes. So here, just want to say this again to make you clear on this. The women's comments point at the heart of the story of Ruth. God has not abandoned Naomi, and he's not abandoning the poor and destitute. Yahweh cares for the widow. But it's not over yet. Okay? Here's a picture of a reenactment with a Naomi holding the child, the offspring. Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her lap, and she became his nurse. And the women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, "A son has been born to Naomi." They named him Obed, and he was the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now, just the joy that this woman now has, right? Her life has looked like death, famine, lost her husband, then lost her sons, just left with Ruth. But through Ruth, God brought redemption to this family. And wow, here's this offspring that's the hope of the future. And we're looking to the future of this one will lead to David. Why is that important? Well, because David is going to address the problem of the judges, period. Everyone doing what's right in their own eyes. Because David brings about righteousness and justice, what was really sought after. No king in Israel. God provides a king, the righteous king. David, through this line. So this is a backdrop to that. So the book ends here with a genealogy. From these two ideal people comes David, the king, that will bring justice and righteousness. So here in verse 18. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez fathered Hezron. Hezron fathered Ram. Ram fathered Amminadab. Amminadab fathered Nahshon. Nahshon fathered Salmon. Salmon fathered Boaz. Boaz fathered Obed. Obed fathered Jesse. And Jesse fathered David. But wait, the story isn't over yet. It's over here, but it's not over yet. More things to think about. Who is Boaz's mother? We don't find out here, but it is in other records and chronicles. And you go to the New Testament and you find out who Boaz's mother is. Look here. In Matthew 1, 2 through 5, the genealogy leading to Christ. Okay? Abraham was the father of Isaac, Isaac the father of Jacob, Jacob the father of Judah, Judah and his brothers, and Judah the father of Perez, there's that name again, Perez and Zerah by Tamar, Perez the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Benadab, and Benadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon, and Salmon the father of Boaz by Rahab. Whew. And Boaz, the father of Obed, by Ruth, and Obed, the father of Jesse, and Jesse, the father of David, the king. And we go from here to Jesus. But before we get there, look, this is a story of redemption, friends. This is so powerful. I mean, Judges is just, if you want to be depressed, read Judges, right? But there's hope. The book of Ruth brings that hope. But look at God's story of redemption with these women that were in bad situations, but God redeemed them out of it. with Tamar being mistreated by her father-in-law, and God vindicated her. Rahab, she was an outsider. Think about this. She had cherem placed upon her head. She was scheduled for death. But she heard about God. She heard about God's desire of what he wanted to do with her land, and she believed. And because she believed, she was brought into the people of God. A person that was an outsider was brought in. A foreigner. She was a Canaanite through and through. No blood of Israel was running through her. But she was brought into the tribe of Judah. She became the wife of Salmon. And from those two, we have Boaz. Now, think about this for a second. In the time of the judges, that messed up period, who is the only family that's living rightly? This family. This is a story of redemption. I mean, a real story of redemption where Rahab, she made Yahweh her God, and she was transformed, and she taught the next generation God's ways. Wow, right? So much so that she passes it on to Boaz, and he brings about this righteousness. He has understanding for the foreigner, the outsider. Rahab was that, and she got the message that just because she had the mark on her that she was going to be wiped out didn't mean the story was over. She had faith, and she was transformed, and God used her. And it wasn't just simply going into the tribe of Judah or into the Israelite nation, but she comes, friends, to who? Jesus. So God is using these women that were in bad situations, but God has delivered them out of that. So again, I think this is something really to go and think on and meditate on for a bit, to think about how God used this person who had everything going against her, but yet because of faith in God and understanding who God is, her life's been transformed, and she's then faithful on passing it on to the next. That actually brings redemption for this other outsider, Ruth, where Boaz shows her kindness and gets the message of God, right? Gets the message of God to live according to his ways, to treat the neighbor righteously, and live according to what God's expecting of them. It's like, wow, what a story. What a story. So, just ending, and I needed to put up here, and I did. I should have put Jesus, okay? Because that's the line that this is going to, right? The salvation for the whole human race. But as we wrap up here with chapter 4, I want to leave you with this question to think about. What are some takeaways from this narrative for your life? You've heard now this story of redemption from, here's a lady that bad things happen. You can really understand for Naomi. You can really understand how she felt abandoned by God, how she felt that God was against her, how her life was just falling apart. And it got to the point it affected her life and how she spoke to others and her attitude towards others. Yet that was an incorrect understanding of the situation. Did she have a bad life? Yes. Did she understand it correctly? No. But God graciously worked through Ruth, to bring redemption to this woman for both of them. And in such a miraculous way, an awesome way, is to bring this whole line in, first to the line of David, to bring righteousness into the kingdom that had lost God, but then ultimately, not just David, but led to Christ, who brings salvation to all, which actually, by the way, goes all the way back to what God promised in the Abrahamic covenant, that all nations, just Israel? No, all nations will be blessed through his offspring. So I hope you've enjoyed this walk through the book of Ruth, and I hope not only do you have a different perspective on Ruth, but how does this narrative speak to you and those within whom you come in contact with. So take some time and think about the message of Ruth for your life. So thank you for being on this journey together, May God bless you.